There are a couple of reasons, 4 possible reasons why God causes and allows or ordains suffering in the lives of believers. Firstly, character. So sometimes God would ordain suffering to refine our character, which means to sanctify us. We see this idea in James 1 verse 2 to 4, where it says, "Consider it all joy, my brothers and sisters, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." So sometimes God will allow or send or ordain suffering in our lives in order to refine our character. Other times God might ordain suffering in our lives as a result of our disobedience. This is the kind of thing we see in the story of Jonah, where God gives him a purpose, gives him a message, gives him an assignment, and Jonah decides, no, I'm not going to do that. And he tries to run away from the Lord, and the Lord brings a storm on the boat where Jonah is. In that instance, the purpose of the storm is to get Jonah back on track, so that he does what the Lord has commanded him. So sometimes in our own lives, God gives us a purpose, gives us a message, He gives us an assignment. We refuse to do that, or we are disobedient, and then God has to bring suffering in our lives in order to get us back on course. Other times God might bring suffering in our lives or upon us in order to save other people. We see this in the story of Joseph and his brothers. So we all know the story. Joseph's brothers sells him into slavery. He ends up in Egypt. He's in a position of influence and power, and then is able to save his people from a famine. And in that instance, Joseph tells his brothers the following. He says, "Now do not be grieved or angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me ahead of you to save lives." So sometimes God would send suffering upon a person so that he might be of salvation to other people, as we see in the case of Joseph. But in the case of Job, the purpose of the suffering that befell Job was revelation. So in Job 38 to 41, God demonstrates His sovereignty, and then Job answers the Lord by saying, this is Job 42 verse 1 to 6. Job answered the Lord by saying, "I know you can do all things, and no purpose of yours can be thwarted." Then he says, "I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you. Therefore I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes." So the whole purpose of this ordeal was so that Job might see God more clearly as the sovereign ruler of the universe. All I want